Did you imagine playing this well on this kind of a stage?
I mean, honestly, not really. I mean,
yeah. 901 Shelby Drive, look alive, look alive. Niggas came up on this side, now they on the other side.
For those who follow the NBA today, it would be hard not to know the dominance of the Golden State Warriors over the last few years. Since their surprising 67-win and championship-winning season in 2015, Golden State has been the league's crown jewel of a franchise that seems to reload each and every year. At the center of their success is a player we all know by now to be the greatest shooter of all time, and his name is Steph Curry. Nope, it is not Kevin Durant that makes the Warriors one of the best teams the NBA has ever seen. It is clearly Steph, and Golden State's struggles in his absence only furthers that point. And with 2 NBA MVPs and 2 NBA championships before the age of 30, it is safe to say, with health permitting, Curry is going to have a remarkable opportunity to be considered a top 10 player to ever play the game. Although that might not sound too crazy now, if we go back just a decade earlier, the only person, and I mean the only person that could have predicted this reality, was Steph himself. So what is good, YouTube? It's your boy Kobe back at it again with another video, and as always, I hope you guys are having a blessed day. Today I'm going through the amazing rise that was Steph Curry during his college days, as this year marks the 10th anniversary of his magical year at Davidson. It's a great story that I think you might have or might not have heard before, but it was a topic that I just couldn't pass up considering how much I remember it personally growing up. Per usual, if you enjoy the vid, make sure to like and subscribe and join the family. We're sitting at about 26,000 strong. Let's keep that number going up. With that said, let's jump right into it. When we consider the most underrated prospects to have ever played the game, we often identify them most from where they are picked in the NBA draft. While there have been plenty of second-round draft selections that have made NBA general managers look foolish, there is often less discussion on the overlooked high school prospects who blew up during their time in college. Whether it be because of height, athleticism, or just a lack of skill set, there are multiple players that are absolutely thriving today in the NBA without attending a premier college basketball program. None of these players bigger than one of the greatest players in the world today, Steph Curry. As I'm sure some of you know, Steph, along with his younger brother Seth Curry, grew up as sons of the well-known and fan favorite Del Curry, a lights-out shooter for the Charlotte Hornets during the 1990s. From an incredibly young age, Steph always knew he wanted to be a professional basketball player.
Steph, what are you going to be when you grow up?
A basketball player.
Boy, that's going to take a lot of hard work and practice. You got to study hard, too.
I know.
You got it, right?
I know.
We got to get you the right kind of ball.
All right.
Following in his father's footsteps as a kid growing up, Curry focused heavily on jump shooting as a kid and quickly became one of the better players in the Charlotte area by the time he was a teenager. Unfortunately, at the time, the skills Steph had developed practicing on his game non-stop did not align with his height. As Curry said himself, he was a mere 5'6", 130 pounds his sophomore year of high school. And to make matters worse, Steph's shot at the time came from his waist, making it incredibly unlikely he would be able to succeed as the level of competition he faced got bigger and better. Knowing this flaw could be the downhill of any future regarding Steph's basketball career, Del instructed his son to change his form over the course of the high school summer, letting him know it would be necessary if he wanted to play at the Division I level. So taking his father's advice, Curry began the difficult process of retraining his brain and his muscle memory to learn a new form of his jump shot that would release from above his head. Initially, in addition to not being able to have the strength to shoot this way from further than right outside the paint, Steph admits he had his ego burned at times from other players on the high school team who couldn't believe how poorly he shot the ball.
It's funny you said that because my teammates, his name was Demir Pitts, I'll never forget this. He was coming over from a different school to play for our team and getting ready for it, and he's like, "Man, I thought he was good." Like, He can't, I don't know what he's good at.
Good news for Steph. The temporary reputation of not being able to shoot as the son of one of the greatest shooters in NBA history was exactly that, temporary, as his shot would evolve by the time basketball season started in the fall. But the height issue had not gone away, as while Curry had grown, he was still only 5'9" as a junior in high school. Although Steph desperately wanted to attend basketball powerhouses in the area like Duke or Carolina, none of the big schools were calling his name. Even Virginia Tech, the school that his father broke records at, told Steph he was probably looking at a walk-on offer at best if he decided to attend school there. In fact, UNC coach Roy Williams might have said it best when commenting on the only thing he thought of when he first saw Curry.
I do know that when I did see him, I thought, man, he is little.
As brutal as the scouting report sounded there from Roy, I don't want to get too carried away and say he wasn't getting looked at from anyone. The potential upside of nabbing a former NBA player's son could be big for a small school, and several schools such as Winthrop, VCU, and Davidson were ready to offer Steph a scholarship as soon as he was a freshman in high school. So even though it wasn't the ideal list of choices, he would be playing D1 ball. We just didn't know where exactly Curry would decide to attend. Well, that is until one head coach realized how special the kid from Charlotte, North Carolina could be.
It took about 3 weeks for him to prove to me that he was going to be a star. We had an alumni function in Charlotte where a lot of fans and a lot of alums and boosters came. It was a luncheon, and I stood up in front of that luncheon and was asked questions about what kind of year we're going to have. We just graduated 7 seniors, and I said, we're going to be pretty good, and we got a really special player who's going to go down in history as the greatest ever to play the game at Davidson College, Steph Curry.
Davidson College is a small private liberal arts school in Davidson, North Carolina. With an enrollment of just under 2,000 students, it's hardly the place you would expect to find a future NBA Hall of Famer. But that is exactly what happened when Steph Curry, in his senior year of high school, decided Davidson was going to be the school for him. As he notes, out of the schools and coaches that recruited him, it was Davidson head coach Bob McKillop that stood out for the confidence and belief he had in Steph to make an impact at a school from day one. As ridiculous and crazy as it sounds today, that was a rare opinion from college coaches at the time, and Curry saw potential to really grow under McKillop's tutelage. In the fall of 2006, at a now 6'1" inches, thanks to another big growth spurt his senior year, Curry headed just 30 minutes from his home in Charlotte, North Carolina, to begin his collegiate career as a Davidson Wildcat. As the only freshman a part of the starting lineup on opening night, the college game did not give Steph a warm welcome, as he finished with 13 turnovers in his very first game. Yet what seems to be a quality within the biggest stars, Curry bounced back just the very next day against Michigan by pouring on 32 points despite his team losing. Losing would be a very rare occurrence for Davidson this year though, as they would roll through the regular season going a ridiculous 29-4. After a brutal 28-point loss to Duke in November, the team would finish the year winning 25 of their final 26 games, including sweeping through their conference tournament to earn an auto bid in the NCAA Tournament. For his part, Steph delivered on making college coaches look pretty dumb, averaging 21.5 points per game and breaking the NCAA freshman record for three-pointers in a single season. In their first round matchup in the NCAA Tournament, Davidson was matched up against Gary Williams and the Maryland Terrapins in a 4 vs 13 seed matchup. Although Davidson played Maryland neck and neck in the first half, Curry would unfortunately foul out in the second half, and the Terrapins would pull away by the final score of 82-70. Of course, Steph wouldn't foul out before putting his mark on the contest, scoring 30 points in a game that would give him brief exposure to a national audience for the very first time. But due to the quick exit by Davidson, the secret of Steph Curry's greatness was still largely unknown to the rest of the college basketball world. So despite a great year for Curry and Davidson, in truth, the 06-07 season was just the appetizer. Because in reality, the following season would not only be the pinnacle of Curry's college career, it would be the year of the biggest breakout of a player in college basketball history.
Start hanging out. There we go. Oh, wow, that looks so tasty.
I got a little something right here.
Oh, I got you.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Wait.
Oh, hey guys, what's up? What's up? It is Monday night. We only got 2 words for you. Hang out.
Unlike the one-and-done NBA prospects that don't really get to engage with the culture and student body of their school, Steph's time at Davidson was unique for his ability to really embrace being a college student.
The outpost might be open later, but Allison cannot flavor your tater. Chester's de jour is all I'm here for. Skip class today, and all I could say is,
Stephen Curry, I ate the Commerce Challenge for breakfast.
their Sunday brunch conscious golden rule. And last night's girl thinks you're a tool. Awkward eye contact just isn't cool. And your boys' call-outs are way too cruel.
Having planned to play at the school for all 4 seasons, the NBA was never seen as something that would be attainable as an underclassman. Hell, even after his remarkable freshman year, Steph's own dad wasn't sure if Curry was quite yet going to be a pro.
We passed Coach McKillop in the airport, and he grabs me and my wife. He goes, "Your son's gonna make a lot of money playing this game one day." I'm thinking, okay, maybe overseas, you know.
So as a result of this uncertainty, this allowed Steph to get involved with the Davidson community beyond basketball during his 3 years at the school. Yet beyond Curry's college life and the pro aspirations that he hoped to reach someday, the main focus his sophomore year was the Davidson team returning to campus. Because quite honestly, there was just a fresh sense of confidence of what they could accomplish. In what is easy to forget with many folks who just remember the squad from towards the end of the 2007-2008 season, the Davidson players and coaching staff knew how good they could be and actually came into the year with big expectations. Having already broken the record for most wins in a season during Coach McKillop's 20-year tenure at Davidson and returning every starter from the year before, there was plenty of excitement on the possibilities of what could happen if this team stayed healthy. At the center of it all, Steph had become the golden boy of Davidson basketball, and a big year from him would be critical for their success. Fortunately for both Curry and Davidson, Steph actually grew another 2 inches before his sophomore season, as he was now listed at a height of 6'3". Along with having better opportunities to finish at the rim, Steph's growth spurt helped immensely with getting a shot off against larger and longer defenders. So with such an experienced and talented group to work with, Coach Bob McKillop and the Davidson coaching staff elected to schedule an incredibly difficult non-conference regular season schedule. Since a lot of the teams they would play in their conference season were not at the caliber of regular NCAA tournament squads, McKillop wanted his team to get some practice going up against legitimate teams before having to play them in March. As a result, Davidson opened their season going up against basketball powerhouses such as Duke, North Carolina, and UCLA. Although they ended up losing each and every one of these games, the matchups themselves were highly competitive and Davidson had opportunities to win in each of them. In particular, the game against number 1 North Carolina was a tightly contested battle, and it provided brief glimpses of Curry's amazing ability. Despite an off shooting night, Steph made it known loud and clear that UNC, as well as Duke, 2 schools from Curry's hometown state, were absolutely crazy for not offering him a scholarship.
Hansbrough, Thompson, they've got to do a better job of handling these double teams. Curry, the very quick turn. Not many players in America have better footwork or can stop on a dime and get a shot off any better than Steph Curry.
Yet even with that said, the brilliance of Steph couldn't stop Davidson from starting off slowly, beginning the year at just a disappointing 4-6 and 2-6 in the non-conference. As the non-conference schedule was so grueling, there were some questions on whether McKillop bit off more than the team could chew, and if maybe it could eat into their confidence heading into conference play. And while this is certainly a valid opinion, this notion couldn't be farther from the truth when played out in reality. Because after a tough 66-65 loss to NC State on the road on December 21st, 2007, the Davidson Wildcats would go streaking. No, not the type of streaking done at the beach, or at least not to my knowledge. It was the type of streaking you see time and time from top teams where things just click for an extended period of time. As hindsight shows, they were battle tested and ready to dominate their conference. Davidson pulled off 22 straight wins from that point until March 10, 2008 to secure an undefeated regular season conference record as well as the conference tournament championship. With an average of almost 26 points per game, Steph was the no-brainer pick for the Conference Player of the Year, and he secured his place as the greatest Davidson player before his sophomore season was over. But while another successful regular season had been accomplished, the name of the game from the beginning was to do some damage in the NCAA Tournament. For that to happen though, they would first have to get past Mark Few and the Gonzaga Bulldogs, their first round opponent. As another team often underrated because of the conference they play in, the Gonzaga Bulldogs were in the midst of another solid season. With a record of 25-7, they were awarded the 7th seed in the Midwest region. Although Davidson was the underdog as the 10th seed, the fact the game was played in close by Raleigh, North Carolina, gave a slight edge to the team from Charlotte. Nonetheless, as the game was underway, Gonzaga was quickly able to grab a lead and held control of the match for most of the first half. Getting off to a slow start, Steph only had 10 first half points, as the Bulldogs were determined to take away Davidson's greatest weapon. At the start of the second half, things did not get much better for the Wildcats, as Gonzaga would actually build on their lead in the early stages. By the 15-minute mark, the lead was at a secure 56-45 advantage for the Bulldogs, and it honestly looked like Gonzaga was about to blow this game wide open.
Dangerous time for Davidson right now. Gonzaga in total control.
At this point, it was clear Davidson needed to play from their star player to change the momentum of the game. Luckily for them, that was exactly what they were going to get, because just literally the next play after the talk of danger time for Davidson, some needed magic arises for the small school.
As the Dan Munson and Mark Fieldhouse for Gonzaga.
Curry with the steal, taken on Bolden and one.
With an opportunity for a three-point play, a new lease on life was extended to Davidson. All of a sudden, the kid from Charlotte decides to go in video game mode and quite frankly takes over the game for most of the second half. After cutting the deficit and exchanging leads back and forth for the final few minutes, Steph sinks a fatal three-pointer off a clutch offensive rebound from Andrew Lovedale, with the game tied at 74-all with a minute to play.
On the baseline, kicks it corner. Line drive, they had to beat the shot clock. Gosselin, and Lovedale keeps it for him. Curry! Are you kidding me?
Once Gonzaga failed to answer on the other end, the Davidson comeback was in the books, and they officially advanced to the second round of the NCAA Tournament.
America had heard about him, and now we know about him. A star on the NCAA Tournament stage.
Scoring 30 of his final 40 points in the second half, Curry had left the crowd on hand speechless. From that moment on, he was not Steph the underdog, but Steph the superstar. And with his Davidson coaches and teammates riding on his back, Curry only had 2 words to say before embarking on one of the craziest and wildest runs in NCAA tournament history. These 2 words were buckle up.
To the Sweet 16.
Richards finds a cutting Curry. Oh! Folks, we got a star!
Along with defeating number 2 seed Georgetown and number 3 seed Wisconsin, Curry would average a ridiculous 32.5 points per game in the NCAA tournament and single-handedly carried his team to unprecedented victories against these elite basketball programs. After miraculously reaching the Elite 8, Curry and Davidson were left just one Jason Richards shot short of advancing to the Final Four and defeating the Kansas Jayhawks, who ended up being the eventual champions. Although not the perfect ending, it was an incredible ride, and one that will not be forgotten by college basketball fans for a long time. And for Curry's sake, the damage was done. What felt like an overnight sensation was now college basketball's biggest star. While Curry would come back for his junior year at Davidson and garner even greater averages, his team would actually fall short of reaching the NCAA tournament for the 3rd straight season. And after the year, Steph decided to put his name in the NBA draft, where the Golden State Warriors selected him with the 7th overall pick. Amazingly enough, despite all he had already proved to naysayers, there were still plenty around who thought he would not amount to much in the NBA. I guess we can say the joke was on them. Anyways guys, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe if you did. Again, like I said earlier, I really just wanted to do a video on this Davidson story because I remember it so well, and I can't believe it's been 10 years since they made that miraculous run. Also real quick, beyond this being a story of Steph's blow up before making it to the league, I also want to shout out some of the unsung heroes on that team, such as the point guard Jason Richards and Andrew Lovedale, because without them, this run and story for Steph may never actually happen. Another side note, let me definitely hear from you guys. For those who remember this crazy tournament, what did you guys think when you saw Curry on the biggest stage? Did you think he would eventually become an NBA star like he is now? Would love to hear in the comments below. With that said, hope everyone has a great rest of the day, or night, or whatever time it is. I'll be back at it soon. Peace out.
Yeah.